Do you think Bosa's had some success in San Francisco? You're probably like, what are you talking about, Greg? Like, you talk about Texans on this channel. Every once in a while, the Browns. But what are you talking about? And there is a player that is heading over into to be with the Houston Texans. We all know this, Danielle Hunter. But there's an article that I'm reading talking about how it's on Texans Wire, about how he is going to flourish in DeMeco Ryans' defense. And I agree. DeMeco Ryans, the defense that he has run traditionally, has been very edge friendly. I think about the rookie season for Will Anderson, defensive MVP, right? I think about Jonathan Greenard on the other end, career year. And now they're bringing in Danielle Hunter. And so they're saying that they're excited to watch him flourish in this new system. Also, I think the reason they're feeling it is because this is a guy who has never had necessarily that real, true other edge pass rusher. Early in his career, he did. But over the last few years, it's kind of been rolling through different players. So now you take out Greenard, who had a phenomenal year. You put in Danielle Hunter, who is arguably much better, and was paid like he was better, but not that much more. All right. And all of a sudden you have some serious excitement. In this article, it talks about how two are better than one, especially when adding pressure to a quarterback off the edge. You can't double both of them. You just can't. Houston Texans gunslinger CJ Stroud knows what it feels like to have a pocket collapse and end of play. He's also lucky he'll only face Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter in practice. That's kind of funny. All right. So here's a couple of things that we're excited to hear. All right, here's a quote. It says, Danielle obviously has a history of success rushing the passer. Yeah, that's what the DC said. Let's pause right now, and let's talk about what that history of rushing the passer was for Danielle Hunter, okay? Let's just talk about what that history was. Outside of the year that he was hurt and didn't play as many games, literally, he didn't play in 2/3 of the games. Here are his sack numbers for his career in the last 5 seasons. 15, 15, 6, 12, 18. Does that sound like somebody you might want to have on your team? Last year, he had a total of 80 pressures, according to PFF. That's 18 sacks, 7 hits, 55 hurries for a total of 80 pressures. He had a pressure rate of over 13%. It's not bad. All right, that is not bad, especially when you're the only true pass rushing threat on your defensive line. And that's what he essentially was for the Vikings last year. They were not a scary defensive line, but he still found a way to churn out 18 sacks. So not only was he getting pressures, but he was turning those pressures into sacks at an enormous clip. And it was a really good time to do it going into a contract year. All right, he is 29 and a half years old, which is why I love the 2-year contract. We're going to get into that in just a little bit. But he obviously has success rushing the passer. Yeah, that's an understatement. All right, Texans defensive coordinator Matt Burke said, we think that, hopefully, playing in this front and stylistically can even enhance that. What, 20 sacks? Partnering him with Will Anderson Jr. and the other guys we have rushing, we're excited to see how that comes to fruition. Yeah, I'm excited to see how it comes to fruition as well. But here's the thing that I want to point out when it comes to Danielle Hunter. I think people said the same thing about Danielle Hunter, and they're saying the same thing about Will Anderson that they said about Danielle Hunter, which is, yeah, they're elite pass rushers, but how good's the run defense? And the truth is, both their run defense is very, very good. In fact, the run defense for Danielle Hunter, not last year, but the year before that, he had a pass rush rating of 78.3 and a run defense rating of 74. Like, this is a well-balanced player. He's 6'5", 263. He's that prototypical size, maybe about 5 pounds light, but that height and that size and that reach that you look for in someone that can set an edge. But he's also an elite pass rusher. So when you look at this, you realize very, very quickly that, yeah, This guy is absolutely elite at rushing the passer, but he is also fantastic at rushing or stopping the run. Then flip it over to Will Anderson. Same thing. So you can't sit here and say we're just going to focus on one guy, because the other one will beat you, especially Will Anderson in his first or in his now second year. But you also can't ignore them and think that like they won't mess up the run game. They will. They will mess up the run game. If you don't put a body on them, they'll come across the line on the backside and have enough speed to catch up to the running back. If you run straight at them, they have the ability, the mindset, and the physical tools, and quite frankly, the mental chops and fortitude in order to stop the run coming at them and recognize that. They're not always just pin your ears back, because they're talented enough that even when they're not just straight pinning their ears back, they can still get to the quarterback. So is he worth the price tag that you're paying for him? Here's his number this year. $13.7 million cap hit. Super cheap. Super cheap. And then $23.7 next year. Now, they did something that I don't love, but I'm going to explain the thought process behind it, at least from my small brain. All right? They have void years that are adding on $21 million, if my math is correct on this, that are adding on $21 million. Actually, it might be $22 million. All right, $12.6 million next year, or in 2026, and then $4.2 million each of the following years. When you look at the C.J. Stroud contract, he ends his rookie contract right here. So this is ending essentially with only 1 year where you have to pay Stroud and pay a little bit of void. I can get it, and I can get how they got there. Here's the thing that I struggle with, because when they make this and they sign the contract, you're not exactly certain what it's going to look like and what the rest of free agency and how it was going to play out. But they ended up with cap space of $17 million. So you have to ask yourself, could they have put that $4.2 million onto the cap this year? My answer very quickly, no. No, they could not, because you need to have a good amount of cap space available, because players are going to get hurt. Players are going to, whatever. You're going to need to find somebody, and you're going to need to sign and bring in free agents. You're going to need to bring people up and back and forth from the practice squad. That salary cap is going to shift. And you don't want to have your hands tied, and you don't want to be sitting there unable to do anything with the cap. And you're one player away, because this team literally could be. I know they say you're never one player away, but sometimes you could lose a player that you now can't replace financially because you strapped yourself. All right, 17, 18, 7, that 15 to 20 million is a safe spot. It's where most of the NFL ends with their cap space. So they're in a good spot this year. Danielle Hunter is still the second highest paid player on the team. If Robert Woods ends up going, depending on how late that is, if he ends up getting cut, I wouldn't be surprised seeing them move that around, but it's kind of tricky to do. They'll probably do it somewhere else. So anyways, thank you so much for watching this one. We want to be your go-to spot for Texans content. And hey, just a little bit of Danielle Hunter news for you. All right, thanks. See you on the next one. Bye.